A global chess match. The U.S. and China. The U.S. and China are like two grandmasters in a game of chess. Their every move is watched by the world. The stakes are high. The future of global order hangs in the balance. These two superpowers are locked in a complex dance. They are rivals, but also partners. Their relationship is marked by cooperation and conflict. Understanding this relationship is crucial. It shapes the global landscape. It affects everything from trade and technology to security and the environment. The U.S. and China are the world's two largest economies. They are both nuclear powers. Their decisions have far-reaching consequences. This essay will explore the key dimensions of U.S.-China relations. It will delve into the historical context. It will examine the current points of tension. And it will consider the possible future trajectories of this crucial relationship. The aim is to provide a clear and concise analysis. This will equip readers with the knowledge to navigate the complexities of the U.S.-China dynamic. The relationship between the U.S. and China is critical. It is a defining feature of the 21st century. As these two giants grapple with each other, the world watches and waits. A rocky road. The history of U.S.-China relations. The U.S. and China have a long and complicated history. Their relationship has been marked by both cooperation and conflict. Understanding this history is essential to grasping the current state of affairs. After World War II, the U.S. and China were on opposite sides of the Cold War. The U.S. supported the nationalist government in Taiwan. Meanwhile, China became a communist state. Relations remained frosty for decades. A thaw began in the 1970s. U.S. President Richard Nixon made a historic visit to China in 1972. This opened the door for diplomatic relations. Economic ties began to grow. China's economy boomed. It became a major player on the world stage. However, underlying tensions remained. The U.S. was wary of China's growing military might. China chafed at what it saw as U.S. attempts to contain its rise. Despite these challenges, the two countries managed to maintain a working relationship. This was driven by mutual economic interests. The U.S. and China entered a new era in the 21st century. Economic interdependence deepened, but so did strategic competition. This complex dynamic continues to define U.S.-China relations today. Trade wars, a new battlefield. Trade is a major flashpoint in U.S.-China relations. The two countries are deeply intertwined economically, but they are also engaged in a fierce battle for economic dominance. The trade war began in 2018. The U.S. imposed tariffs on billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. China retaliated with its own tariffs. This tit-for-tat escalation has hurt businesses and consumers on both sides. The U.S. has accused China of unfair trade practices. These include intellectual property theft and forced technology transfer. China denies these allegations. It argues that the U.S. is trying to stifle its economic rise. The trade war has had a ripple effect across the global economy. It has disrupted supply chains and created uncertainty for businesses. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has warned that the trade war could shave off global economic growth. Despite the tensions, the U.S. and China remain each other's largest trading partners. This economic interdependence creates both opportunities and challenges. It remains to be seen how the trade war will play out, but it is clear that trade will continue to be a major source of friction in U.S.-China relations. The race for technology. Technology is another key arena of competition between the U.S. and China. Both countries are investing heavily in cutting-edge technologies. These include artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and 5G wireless networks. The U.S. has long been the global leader in technology, but China is catching up fast. It is pouring billions of dollars into research and development. It is also attracting top talent from around the world. The U.S. is increasingly concerned about China's technological advances. It sees China as a strategic competitor. It fears that China could overtake the U.S. in key areas. This could have implications for economic and military power. The U.S. has taken steps to restrict China's access to sensitive technologies. It has imposed export controls on certain goods and services. It has also blacklisted Chinese companies that it accuses of posing national security risks. China has condemned these actions as protectionist. It argues that the U.S. is trying to stifle its innovation. The battle for technological supremacy is likely to intensify in the years to come. It will have a profound impact on the global balance of power. Section 5 Military Maneuvers Flashpoints in the Pacific. The Asia-Pacific region is a major theater for U.S.-China strategic competition. Both countries have significant military forces in the region. Tensions are particularly high in the South China Sea and over Taiwan. China claims sovereignty over most of the South China Sea, despite overlapping claims from other countries. China has built artificial islands and military installations in the disputed waters, raising concerns among its neighbors in the U.S. The U.S. conducts freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea, arguing that China's actions threaten freedom of navigation and overflight. The risk of miscalculation and escalation is high. Taiwan is another major flashpoint. China considers Taiwan to be a breakaway province and has vowed to reunify with the island, by force if necessary. The U.S. has a policy of strategic ambiguity towards Taiwan. It does not explicitly guarantee to defend Taiwan, but it sells arms to Taiwan and maintains a strong military presence in the region. The U.S. and China have both stepped up their military activities in the Asia-Pacific, raising concerns about an arms race. The risk of conflict is real, and this would have devastating consequences for the region and the world. Section 6. Two sides of the same coin. Economic interdependence. Despite the geopolitical rivalry, the United States and China are deeply intertwined economically. They are each other's largest trading partners. They have massive investments in each other's economies. This economic interdependence creates both opportunities and challenges. On the one hand, it gives both countries a stake in each other's success. It also provides a potential avenue for cooperation. On the other hand, economic interdependence can also be a source of vulnerability. Each country could use economic leverage to try to coerce the other. This could lead to economic conflict which would harm both sides. The United States and China are trying to strike a balance between competition and cooperation in their economic relationship. They are trying to decouple in some areas, such as technology, but they remain deeply interconnected in others, such as trade. The future of the global economy depends in large part on the U.S. China economic relationship. If they can manage their rivalry and find ways to cooperate, it will benefit both countries and the world. But if their economic relationship deteriorates further, it will have negative consequences for everyone. Section 7. Friends in high places, alliances and influence. The United States and China are both seeking to strengthen their alliances and partnerships around the world. They are also competing for influence in key regions. The United States has a network of alliances that dates back to the Cold War. Its key allies include NATO members in Europe, Japan, South Korea, and Australia. The United States is also seeking to deepen its partnerships with countries in Southeast Asia and the Indo-Pacific. China is also expanding its network of partnerships. It is a founding member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which includes Russia and Central Asian countries. China is also investing heavily in developing countries through its Belt and Road Initiative. The competition for alliances and influence is playing out in different ways around the world. In Southeast Asia, the United States and China are both courting countries like Vietnam and Indonesia. In Africa, China has made significant investments in infrastructure and development. This has raised concerns in the United States about China's growing influence. The competition for alliances and influence is likely to intensify in the years to come. It is a reflection of the shifting global balance of power. Section 8. Global tremors, the economic fallout. The tensions between the United States and China are having a significant impact on the global economy. Businesses are facing uncertainty, supply chains are being disrupted, and financial markets are volatile. The trade war has been particularly disruptive. The tariffs imposed by the United States and China have increased costs for businesses and consumers. This has led to higher prices and slower economic growth. The technological competition is also having an impact. The United States is trying to restrict China's access to key technologies. This is making it more difficult for Chinese companies to compete globally. It is also leading to a bifurcation of the global technology sector. The military tensions are also creating economic uncertainty. Businesses are worried about the risk of conflict in the South China Sea or over Taiwan. This could disrupt trade and investment flows. The economic fallout from the United States-China rivalry is being felt around the world. It is one of the biggest risks to the global economy. Section 9. A shared responsibility, climate change and the future. Climate change is a global challenge that requires cooperation between all countries. The United States and China are the world's two largest emitters of greenhouse gases. They have a shared responsibility to address this issue. In the past, the United States and China have cooperated on climate change. They played a key role in negotiating the Paris Agreement in 2015. However, the Trump administration withdrew the United States from the Paris Agreement. The Biden administration has rejoined the Paris Agreement. It has also made climate change a top priority. However, tensions between the United States and China on other issues have made it difficult to cooperate on climate change. The future of the planet depends on the ability of the United States and China to work together to address climate change. If they can put aside their differences and cooperate, there is a chance to avert the worst effects of climate change. But if they continue to clash, the consequences will be dire.